You're listening to the Progressive Mind Show, your number one community building show in the world. Every Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. CST, live on Facebook and YouTube. Join us as we discuss pertinent issues that relates to you and I with your host, Alinko.
Very talented young people who have decided to follow.
Then another year it starts again. Well, this is different.
We should definitely be talking to those wonderful people. Once again, we urge you to share the feed on Facebook.
Hi there, I'm Faida, and today we're going to be talking about the African diaspora in Mexico.
Whether UK likes it or not, I have to leave this country.
I became a member and a chief of the Vice Lord all in one day.
All these guys, winds are out of the north at Midway Airport.
His father.
Rice and beans. Okay, kids, we have had to come to an end of this beautiful set.
It's not about this.
This is the inside account of a week that brought the Rainbow Nation to its knees.
Right, essentially trying to inculcate into this.
Okay, let me talk to her. I'll text Maya now, and I'll get back. All right.
Hello, everyone. This is the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Senna, aka Alinko. You're welcome to this episode, and we're going to be talking about Wakanda, the one and only movie on the globe now. It's just the number one thing that everybody is talking about right now because of the power, the mystery, and the culture in this one movie. The Black Panther Part 2 has been out. Most of you, a lot of you have, I'm sure, have seen this movie. There are different twists to it. The African perspective, the African diaspora perspective, is why we're here this episode. So we hope that you can join us to indulge in this very important conversation. Captain Mike's segment would not be available today due to work schedules. However, we have a beautiful guest co-host on the show today, and a gentleman that is going to be helping with the conversation. Today is November 16th, 2022. Christmas is around the corner. Birthdays are coming. A lot of things are happening. We thank God for life. Right now, we'll go straight to, and want to apologize to our audience for the late start in today's show. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, we encourage that you share the feed so your friends and our friends can be part of this great conversation. Once again, welcome to the show. Now we're going to go straight to our guest this evening, and Angie Mims has 20 years in television host. No, I'm just joking. I know that part. But Angie Mims is a Chicago native. She's a through and through American, African American, Black American, African, everything. Great lady, great community lady, great person. Angie, you're welcome to the show, sis.
Thank you very much. I'm excited about today's show. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then next to Angie is Aji Ojo. He's a through and through African, through and through Nigerian, through and through American, through and through African diasporan. And we're excited, through and through community guy, through and through everything. Okay. And so we are excited to have Aji on the show this evening as well. Aji, you're welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And so we want to go straight into why we're here this evening. And we're working on the Progressive Minds studio phone number. It should be active in a few minutes. It's been off for some time, but if you want to join this conversation later on, please feel free to call in. If it's not working, we'll give you a number to dial for now. But you can always send in your comment via Facebook or YouTube, and we shall read it out. And so, once again, you're welcome. Thank you, guys. You have seen the movie, so your overview of this great movie. Let me start with Angie. Ladies first. Angie, what's your take on this movie briefly, and then we can dive into the details.
I'll be as condensed as I possibly can. Overall, I just appreciated the diversity.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I appreciate just, the African feel that has been continuous throughout this movie. I appreciate Ryan Coogler, the director for this movie, only 36 years of age, and he's done a marvelous job securing some of the world's greatest actors. And so it was definitely powerful, like you said before.
Sorry, I think I've been on mute. For a second. Angie, thank you so much. Angie, what's your take?
Well, great movie. Great cinematic approach. I liked the movie. I thought it had a lot of.
I don't know. Angie? Can you hear him?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So I thought the movie.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can't hear him.
Okay.
For some reason I cannot hear you at all. Angie, can you hear me?
I can hear you and Najee.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, my brother, go ahead. I can hear you now.
You can? Are you sure?
Yes, I can. Okay. Positive.
Yeah. So overall, it was a really, really nice movie. It was 2 hours, 40 minutes long, I believe.
For 45 minutes. Yes.
Normally, I sleep at every movie. I don't care what it is. So I think I might have dozed off like for 10 minutes in the somewhere in between the movie. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, overall, it was a great content, great action. I wasn't expecting it to be that much action, but it was a lot of action.
Yeah.
overall, it was a great movie.
Thank you. So, I was looking at the meaning. Who knows the meaning of Wakanda? Okay, so I wanted to know what it is. It's and according to Wikipedia, it says the Bureau of American Ethnology noted in 1894 the ancestors of the Omaha and Ponca believed that there was a supreme being whom they called Wakanda. They did not know where he was, nor did they undertake to say how he existed. Wakanda simply means the mysterious. All right. So again, at least that is what Google gives us. But hopefully we can find other sources that gives a definition to what the name Wakanda. But the story obviously speaks to Black people, speaks to the African. And when the first one came out, I think it really, opened up the horizon of Black people across the globe. That perhaps we all have one heritage, one, and then two, the fact that the continental Africans have some connection with brothers and sisters in the Americas. At least for those who did not have a clue the connection that existed among Black people on the continent and here. And so I think Wakanda gave those people that perspective, and it changed the world on how we talk about Africans and Black people. And if I say it changed the world, that's what it actually did. Specifically, African diasporans or Africans in general. It gives us a glimpse to what I said earlier. Having seen this one, and again, of course, the movement of the diaspora catapulted. People got more intrigued and curious about what could this diaspora and all of that be. And then, of course, to may his soul rest in peace, we lost the lead player or lead arts. Is that the name? Angie?
Lead actor.
The lead actor, Bossman Chadwick, that's his name, right?
Yes.
Again, may his soul rest in perfect peace. How we missed him in this one, right? We were, you would think that for the first one, everyone was just imagining what he would do or how his role was going to affect the second one. But credit to everyone that featured in the second one. Brilliant, beautiful, excellent act. It speaks to the magic. When they say Black magic, you can see it come through. And I was just making a reference to the diaspora and how the first one opened that door for that conversation, actually opened the door wider for the diaspora conversation. Mm-hmm. Now we are here with the second one. And I think for you, Angie, mm-hmm. Can you authenticate? I mean, if you help me, feel free to authenticate what I said or not, whether the first one opened deeper the conversation of the African diaspora. And if so, does this second one, from your understanding, give you the same type of feel to the first one when it comes to the African diaspora conversation?
That's a great question, actually. Actually, yes. Coming into this second one, I was expecting all the amazing things that there was a certain feeling that you felt being African. Mm-hmm. And then, walking into the first movie and watching it, there was a sense of pride in it that we were bridging the gap. We had like a lot of issues that we wanted to kind of talk about over the years. Mm-hmm. That we've not been able to talk about. Only like so-called activists and a lot of people that were kind of involved in the movement of trying to bridge the gap. Mm-hmm. So I think that movie was a really good gateway, to kind of like getting people started talking on that conversation about blackness and what it is, African heritage, and then the lost tribes here. And I think that issue continues to, I mean, you guys have been aware of what's been going on in the media the past few weeks, talking about Kanye West, talking about Kyrie. So there's a lot of other, things that's happening in the community that, and conversations that we're having, discussing our blackness and discussing our heritage and how can we combine those two. This second one, I have to be honest with you, I don't know if I got that feeling. I don't think I got that feeling at all in this one. I think they were going to more of a global feel and a global reach, because that place, Takantan or whatever, you know what I mean? I think they had, I think they were going for some, which I can understand. I mean, they're reaching out a little bit, but I don't think it had the feel that I kind of felt, when we were talking about the first movie, the pride that came along with it, the conversations that was going on. So I don't know. That's just my perspective on that. I'm curious to see what Angela has to say about that part.
He just passed the baton to you, Angie.
I see. He's smooth with it too. I do agree in regards to, you use the pivotal word, gateway. And so I think from a Black American perspective, it definitely opened up our eyes to so much that we missed. Trying to keep your question at the forefront of my mind, but I have so much to say.
Let's go.
About it in regards to, it wasn't just Mali, or it wasn't just one tribe or whatever. There were people that were actually coming together, and the plot of this to specifically talk about the Black Panther Part 2 is that here you have Mexicans, if you will, Latinx, if you will, taking an active part in Black Panther. And while we clearly know that the umbrella of it is Black, but because we're so diverse as a people, and because we lack knowledge in our history, to be brutally honest, Black Americans, it is refreshing to see the merge of Latinx, Mexican, Talocan, as well as our people coming together at the end when Shuri could have killed him. I believe his name was Namo.
Shuri, yeah.
She could have killed him, at the end. But here it is, once again, Black people at its core, no matter how powerful we are, no matter how influential we are, no matter how rich Africa, the actual continent, is, we still at the core of us want peace. And if we could really realize that, as a people in real life, not to dilute yourselves, because Queen Ramonda did not dilute herself. But if we could really realize that if we come together and work together, those who are part of the diaspora, if you will, would be able to come together. And he, in turn, the leader of Talocan, he submitted, he yielded, as she said. She said, "Will you yield?" And he said, "Yes." And even when he goes back home and he faces, some opposition, why would you yield to her, blah, 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 or whatever. That is pivotal to where we are as a people. Can you withstand the struggle? Are you able to be strong and yet humble? Are you able to come together, work together for the legacy of our people? And so that's the point that I would like to speak from and about, because I look at this, even though Wakanda is a fictional place, according to what I read in Marvel Studios and Marvel, all that Marvel stuff, but it is still symbolic as to what we're going through today.
Thank you so much for breaking it down the way you did, Angie. I share with you. And so to answer the question directly, you believe that the first one was the gateway, like you said, and then the second one did give you from your perspective, did you get the African you got the African diaspora feel from the second one, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And so ANGIE is the only one who's not getting it. So we understand because he, he's not from Wakanda. We get it. He's not a Wakanda citizen.
Definitely not.
He's not Wakanda. He's probably from Talakan. Who knows? His ancestors.
No, definitely not.
That's right. That's right.
But no, that's a brilliant point. Thanks for sharing, guys. Somebody also shared the same thing with me, same views as ANGIE. Okay, the other time I was talking to, and I think I've spoken to a few people who feel the same way you do, ANGIE. To be honest, they think that whole African connection and Black power and all of that didn't come through for them the way they were expecting, and it was more, to the point that you made. They were hopefully trying to reach a more universal audience, but that's all. I also caught what ANGIE, what you just spoke about, that I feel like the movie really captured the broader community of the African diaspora, and to the core of the of Black people. We are just we in as much as we're powerful, there's so much love in our heart.
Yes.
If you research Black people everywhere, from the indigents that are on the indigents in the Amazons, South America, on the continent itself, you hardly find these people being hostile, especially to foreigners. There's something about Black men and people who don't look like us or act like us. We may bicker, we may fight among tribes, which actually is a thing that exists among all races. Every race have internal wranglings. Europeans have had theirs. Europeans actually used to fight a lot. They used to kill themselves a lot, before. They've had their own civil wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to speak on that, ANGIE, or
you're right. I mean, back right before slavery started, that's actually one of the things that started, the slavery movement, was the revolt that was going on in Europe at the time, and the Queen had to make a decision because the people were actually rebelling against the system. And then from that rebellious act, the Queen was like, you know what, you got to go, find another place. And, they came up with a whole new strategic way of, instead of doing it inwards, you take it out to the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what started the inquisitions and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The slavery crusades and stuff that happened within our people.
Yep.
But what I wanted to speak on what ANGIE was talking about us Blacks, and that's true. That is very true. But and it's very, very commendable. But I think in a larger sense, especially now that we are dealing with all this stuff that's going on in the media with us, I really do feel that we should really focus on ourselves a lot more. That is what I tend to kind of preach. I think it's easy for us we're the number one consumers. So, hey, we can go and buy Louis Vuitton. We do all these other things for everybody else, but I don't see the same thing happening for us. I don't think we invest hard enough in ourselves. I don't think we push our agenda the way we should push our agenda. I think for me, this movie could have done a lot more if it was more inclusive. Just keep the original thing, because that's why it was so successful. And I think that's one thing about us is we love everything else, but ourselves, we tend to give ourselves the least of all the things that we're supposed to be doing. Now, what we do to others is like amplified, but for each other, it's not. And history, and we have a chance. I think Wakanda had a choice of really, really becoming and diving into history and really making it like bringing out so much more stuff within our people, because that was a movie that kind of represented us.
Yes.
I don't think it was time for it to be like trying to explore any other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it could be more educational.
Hold on, Senna. I want to please let me address this, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because that is something that I vacillate going back and forth on a daily basis. And I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because it is something that I inwardly go through in regards to, I work for Black and brown people every single day. But I agree with you 1000%. And thank you for bringing that back to the forefront in regards to us being able to concentrate on ourselves. This is one of the things that I love about Progressive Minds and its mission is that it starts with us. We have to have the education. We have to have willing people who are doing what Senalinko is already doing in regards to keeping this open platform so that we could actually have key players to educate us, to teach us, and to even inspire us. And that is where it breaks down in education, because we can talk about it on these radio platforms and even acknowledge it on news media outlets of all kinds. But at the end of the day, who's going to volunteer to be in the trenches to teach our people so that we can have an agenda, so that we can have curriculum even that will allow us to actually have pride? Other groups that Black people admire and just truly adore are those people who have the resources, the contributors, large sponsors who regularly contribute to the educational piece. It's not enough for us to admire, wearing symbolic pieces and having African art that is posted up around our houses. We need to know. Africans know, your history as a Ghanaian sinner. You know your history. Aji, what name is that? You're not Yoruba, are you?
I'm Yoruba.
So you're a Yoruba. You're a Yoruba man. So
Angel, Yoruba angel.
So you know your history. Sinner certainly knows his. But here we only know American history. We know that this country was built off the backs of Black people. But who we are and being able to secure people who will commit to educating us, we don't have that. We don't have that on a larger scale.
And that's exactly what I was saying. It's we have an opportunity here to be able to really like showcase a whole different side of Africa as a continent, and how amazing all the different cultures, even within Africa itself. There's so much more going on. And I feel like we might have missed an opportunity to be able to really have and connect and get back that feeling that we had. You know what I mean? From watching the first one by watching this one. One of my goals and mission is really to be able to bridge those gaps, because I've always said it for the longest time. I think the day that the Africans and the African Americans get together is the day that the whole world will never be the same again. That is actually the manifestation.
Yes.
But the powers that be would never allow that to happen, because they understand what the destiny of that looks like. You know what I mean? When you speak about manifestation of destiny, they know. So that's why over the years we've had this issue of us not being as connected as we could be, because it was done intentionally, and by the system. So once we start to realize that final frontier with us getting together, it's really gonna make a lot of people nervous, and that's really what's gonna actually propel us as a community. Black and brown. Just imagine. Even Black designers from Africa that, what I mean? Like, it's going to open up all the businesses, shoe designs, every single thing. Because all our designers, all the people that we deal with today in this day and age are not of our, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's speak to Aji. So I have to be very careful the way I pronounce both names, because they almost sound the same. So I have to. Aji, let me use the African.
You could say AJ. AJ is fine.
Okay, great. AJ, so you still believe that Wakanda did not? Okay, you if you say that it's open, that you did not zero in deeper in the African history or culture, are you then saying that the Latinx perhaps maybe does not really belong to the bigger African diaspora or the African family?
Well, I mean, that's a good point. But if we're talking, in Nigeria, the Dutch were the first one that came to Africa. You get what I'm saying? So you have,
Yes.
so I feel
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at it as a continental thing. I think
Yeah.
it's time for us to separate and focus on our own history, because that's the only thing that's been missing for the longest time.
On just African history, right?
Just African history.
Okay.
I think Wakanda, the idea of Wakanda was really about. That's what I thought it was about. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I thought it was about
Yeah.
connecting. I thought it was about telling the story of the continental African, like us, right? African, and then Africans here in America, which is Black Americans, and technically the diaspora. And the diaspora, for those of you who may not understand what the diaspora is, diaspora simply means a group of people that live on a different land outside their natural habitat or their continent, right? The original continent. So Black people here in America, or people of the African descent who are in America, includes African Americans here, Africans who have migrated here, Caribbeans, Latinx, which is Mexico, Puerto Rico, and then South Americans.
Because the Aztecs.
Yeah, so because all these people have Black heritage, and so that is the bigger African diaspora community, and Africa/Black diaspora. Some people don't want to say Africa; they want to say Black diaspora, so that's fair. So just wanted to put that out there for those who may want a better clarification of this. So I think the first one opened that door, that conversation, because if they had started the first one by introducing the entire diaspora and continental Africans, it would have confused a lot of people, because people are now growing to understand all of this. So they started with the major group, which is continental Africans and African Americans, because I feel like when it comes to the two groups or the two communities, the majority of the diaspora is Black African Americans, and the majority on the continent is continental Africans. And so it was a good conversation to start with, the connection between Africans and African Americans. The first one, boom. Second one, I'm thinking they're saying, now let's broaden the scope. Let's broaden the scope to capture the other ethnic groups that belong to the African diaspora. It will be good. I think the reason why they use the Calacun, the Latinx piece in the movie is to connect them, or to show people that these are our people too. We have the same connection, and I think that's what they did. Now I understand what you're saying, and that's a great point. We have to dive into our history, but I think we can do it simultaneously. We can kill two birds with a stone, right? As we connect the other groups, which is the Latinx or the Afro Latin folks, we can also be telling the African story as we should, because I don't think that we should just talk about the African story and maybe leave out others, because the African community is huge. The African heritage is huge, and we have people on the continent and across Europe and the Americas. And there's a need for us to sensitize the world and people that, hey, these other folks who may not necessarily look like us, this is other brown people who may not look like us, they are part of us too. And that is what I'm taking from that. And I feel like it's a good move. But your take on that, and I have another. I want to talk about the technology and actually even look at some other components of the movie. But anybody wants to have a take on what I just said?
I do.
Okay.
I have a question for
AJ. AJ.
And perhaps it's to AJ. Perhaps it's too forward, because I see both sides. There's more money, okay? The more inclusive it seems. The more people we get to be a part of this is more money for what AJ alluded to earlier in regard. You said a statement, which was they won't let it be. The powers that may be, they won't let it happen. I look at it from a Christian perspective. I'm not a Muslim, but I do honor and give reverence to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Why?
I do too.
Yes, because we can think, if we believe, oh, they won't let us, it shouldn't be in their hands. And while, yes, it seems as though they have the money, they have the resources, the connections, the political, influences. Minister Louis Farrakhan, when having a meeting there at the mosque, he believes in having their own. They have their own education.
Everything, yeah.
They have their own way of life and culture. Who says that we can't have it? Okay? That is from perhaps a nationalist perspective. But from a Christian perspective, God is not a respecter of persons. And so how do we merge the two would be my question to you.
That's a great question. And I'm glad you brought up the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, because I really, 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 really love that man. And I feel that he had his purpose, he's living out his purpose, regardless of the religion, which is also, he is also practicing what I call that part of that. I don't want to use the word segregation or separating ourselves, but I feel like we have been, they say when you want to find out something and figure out something, you have to go back. If you're having issues, you got to go back to the roots. So I feel that, yes, we want to add on and we want to do a lot of different things. But I think the roots, is the most important thing. And for us, if you want to say, being a Christian, the kingdom rules, I feel like that applies to everything. So I'm with you when it comes to having the belief system that's counter what, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, that just goes, hey, we know this is going to happen. But that's why I said it's going to happen. But there are certain things, even in the Bible, every single time something was going to happen, Moses came down, he was about to reveal what this great news was about, and all this stuff was about, and boom, people already started worshiping the idols. And I think that's symbolic to what's going on nowadays. And that's why it takes me back to, we don't have to feel like we have to be everybody yet. Yes, we are for everybody. But this war that we're in, this battle, this time that we're in, it's really about re-education. It's about relearning. It's about re-indoctrination. So every single thing is about us going back to the roots and understanding from the root that, hey, that was what Mr. Farrakhan did. You know what I mean? He cut everybody out and just went right back to the blackness. Now you see him is a little bit more fit. Back in the days, he was the number one, I guess what you would call anti-Semite. You know what I mean? But he was basically just saying, look, we got work to do within ourselves, and we need to, because every other community does the same thing. All the other communities, the Jewish community, where we love them so much now, because why? Because they are example for a lot of us about, you know what I'm saying, of what it feels like to have a family, to run a family in business and all this kind of stuff. That's why, and they live by those principles. They eat together. They you know what I mean? They look alike. They have a symbol on their head that all they,
Yes.
We are the ones that are all over the place. And that's why I want to always bring it back to the roots. It's like, yes, we're quick to want to you know what I mean? But the work has to be done with us, honestly.
Okay.
I feel like, and the work has to be done between African Americans and Africans, because that's what it is. Then we can include a lot of other things. You remember when NOI first started, which is the Nation of Islam?
Yes.
You could hardly ever see a white person in there. There was a reason for that. You know what I'm saying? And not that we don't like white people. It's just because this is not, we don't need you in there right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This work that we are doing with our own, with each of us, it's about us. And we don't need no outside. You know what I mean?
Right.
Once we're done and we're stronger as a unit, then we can have allies, like in the movie. But aside from that, I think the work that has to be done is we still got a lot of work to do with ourselves.
I have one more question, and then I'll be quiet. I promise.
No, don't be. Go ahead. We're having a conversation. Go ahead.
This is our platform. We're here to do this. So go ahead.
So then, in a condensed version, did it bother you when watching Wakanda, Black Panther 2, that Mexicans and others were involved? When you say it is better for us to concentrate on ourselves, did it make you feel somehow? Like, what are you doing on here?
Honestly, I felt that this was I felt that this was our movie. I felt like this is our time to. If I had to kind of like sit down and recreate what Wakanda feels, it would be a series. If you remember Roots. Like we need something in this day and age. We need something that speaks to us, that and also touches on a lot of the stuff that's going on. Because I think
before you continue, don't you believe that they are part of us too? Latinx, they have the same.
I think that's a brother situation. I will tell you why I feel that way.
Okay.
I'll tell you why I feel that. A lot of Latino people here, especially in America. My daughter is actually Mexican, my oldest one. So I don't have anything against. You get what I'm saying? I really have a great understanding of who they are and everything like that. But if you watch them and you see how they move, we just finished an election and people were trying to figure out how do they vote. They have two different sides even when they're voting. There's a whole group of Mexicans that really believe they're white, and there's a group of Mexicans that believe they're black.
Okay.
We don't have time for you understand what I'm trying to say. I don't have time to when you're black, those of us that are black, we know we're black.
I get you. I got you.
The power is in that. We will start the re-education and and all of that when the time comes. I think we just have to really look back inwards and work on ourselves, because we've been broken down a lot by the system.
Angie, I think AJ has satisfied our curiosity, because I know what you were thinking of, and I was thinking the same thing. So AJ, thanks for clarifying that. And the point you made is very, very true. And so thank you so much for giving us that perspective. We're going to take a few comments and then we'll get back to the conversation. I would like us to look at the again, the cultural and the technology piece of this movie, and how it connects to the awesome blackness of our people. Let's go here. This is Now That Is Crazy. This is Nathan A. Berry. Nathan again says, although I have met blacks who say they are not black or African, and I think that's very, very true.
That's true too.
But I think the very few few people. I don't want to say insignificant. It is significant. So great point, my brother. We need a part two. We need a two-part. Karen, can you explain what that means? Thank you so much for the comment coming through, though. Let me see if I've read this already. Okay, I think I have. And then Nathan, he said earlier, brought in this comment earlier. It says Mexicans are children of Africans. I have Spain as well as Peruvian in my DNA. Okay, great point. And we all know that the Spanish people were educated by the Moors, right?
Yes, from
right?
Morocco,
yeah. So that's where they got the education, their civilization from. Don't be quiet. That's Jones saying, "Angie, keep talking." I guess they want to hear your voice some more. So,
but that's the same conversation we're having even with the Black Hebrews and the. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
that is the same thing. So you have blacks they can't call themselves anti-Semite because everybody comes from the original black man is the black. So that conversation, it's going to continue to keep going because Original man is you know.
Yeah, you're right, especially in this
Yeah.
era. I mean, this is the age of information. This is the age. This is a
Yeah.
new dawn. A new dawn has come. A new era has come for Black people. Period. And this conversation about us, where we're from, how we're connected, is only going to get bigger. So thanks
If
for.
we are looking for, just look at it this way: if we're looking for a home for, let's just say, Black Americans, right, are looking for a home, right? Are they going to choose Mexico, or are they going to choose Africa? I mean, you know, it's like we are trying to get back to a system where, like, I want you to feel like home, Nigeria is home. I want you to know that Ghana is home. I want you to know that Morocco is home.
Senegal is home.
Senegal, and I want you to actually just experience that, because it does something to your psychic. And I'll tell you this, for a lot of people we're talking, anytime I go back home to Africa, I could have been staying in America for 11 months straight. I go home for 2 weeks. Spiritually, something happens to me. I'm telling you.
No,
and every African would tell you that.
It's true.
It's like it's like a rebirth. It's like a new, you're totally different from who you are actually in this system here.
Yeah.
You know, so that tells me there's something missing.
There is.
And it's been missing for so long.
Yeah.
And that we need to kind of like get back and be able to kind of like bring you guys back in.
Okay.
So you guys can feel the same.
That will take us to the cultural component of Wakanda. Okay. So let me get these comments out, and then we go back to it. We are related by blood, but African Americans have a different mindset. We have to build the bridge first. Thank you so much, Nathan. And this is part of the bridging, Nathan. So we're glad that you are joining the process. Karen says, so how do you I think she was saying, how do you feel in our own that wants to erase our own culture history? I'm just asking for a friend.
How do you reel in? They said reel in.
Right.
Yeah,
How do you? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. How do you reel in our own that wants to erase our own culture? Okay, that's a great question. Maybe AJ or Angie can respond to that, but let me quickly run through this. Priscilla says, I'm a believer, but I think it is time for us as a people to come together and build our own. Thank you so much, Priscilla. Good to see you on the platform. It's been a while. And Nathan came through earlier. He said, how do we blend our cultures between African Americans and Africans? Nathan, again, this is one of them. Many more to come. So just stay tuned to this platform and our social media. This
is actually happening, though.
Yeah,
it's happening. Musically, right? You can kind of see the movement, and a lot of things starts with music and sports.
Yes,
you know, and wrestling. You know, it's part of entertainment, right? You know, we can get a lot done in those three areas, and music is always a good indicator
and
of what's to come.
Yes,
because it opens up a lot of doors.
Go ahead. So we need to build our own bridges, and then this comment was from the big up. This from the Candy, Mr. Candy. Thank you so much for coming through. Rebecca says, okay, so she's watching us. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining the feed. And I think that should be it for now. Karen says, I agree with you, Nathan. We must build bridges. And Angie, would you want to respond to the comment earlier, or we can just move?
Well, I just wanted to say, though, this is one of the things that I also admire about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He didn't take it isn't until recently where he allowed music to start being a part of his settings, being very proficient in classical music. He is, as well as calypso.
He's a saxophonist, yeah.
He recognized that, to your point, AJ, that music is easy to do music because it makes you feel good, you want to dance and blah, blah, blah. But when they ask these pivotal questions, which is the truth now, how do we bridge the gap between African Americans and Africans? Music is nice. I grew up around music all of my life. But it is my opinion, being in America all of my life, that we must put this to the side now and put education first on who we are. We love music. It's in our DNA. As soon as you hear a beat, instantly you start moving, even if you're tapping your feet. But how do you sustain and how do you combat when we talk about, we have so many different countries that we should be, dying to get to? Cameroon, Senegal, Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, all these different places, Egypt even, But at the end of the day, how do you deal with African Americans who have been brainwashed? I'm not talking about like 10 years, hundreds of years. And I have very close friends who are Yoruba people, Igbo people, Hausa, Togolese. They are my friends. Nevertheless, even some of our brothers and sisters look down on Blacks and vice versa. So it is easy for us to talk about it, but it is only through, I believe, the conduit of education that we can begin to break these barriers down. Use music, yes, for just to get them together, but there's got to be a better way to dismantle and disband the horrible ideology that we've been taught.
Yeah, let me just give you an insight into something, right? So let's just say Kanye West, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has probably about, on social media, 300 million followers on social media, right? I think what happened was back in the days, music used to be a way where it was like a street poetry. It was a way of like you infuse education into it, because think about it. The numbers that you get from people that all these little kids, right, know all the words to a song. Imagine if you put the message in a bottle. So what happened is we stopped putting the message. We put the wrong message in the bottle because you have some powers that be that won't let the real information come out. So music as a vessel has an opportunity to reach so many people on a lot of different level scales, right?
Yeah.
But the message has to be put in the bottle, right? So it has to be a messaging tool that we've stayed away from. And that's a whole different thing that we really need to talk about. Absolutely. Our people, what I've learned about Blacks, I'll be honest with you, and I'm with you there. But we move to a rhythm. We are like musical human. Like you could tell from just how we live our lives, how we vibrate through.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, I know arts, education is where we thrive at the most, a lot. We do science very well. We started science and everything too. But there's something about music and us, arts, entertainment, and us, that if we mastered it well and put the message in the bottle, instead of letting them switch the message around, it's all in the messaging. Because if I'm going to be programming you, the easiest way for me to program you is to continuously let you keep listening and hearing stuff that's negative all day.
So how about we do this? How about we put the two together, right, and celebrate it at the same time?
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that.
That's what we're doing.
But
from research, that's why
I challenge this though. Because when you look at, I challenge it because when you look at other countries that have music, they still have a discipline about themselves. So are you telling me that in order to capture our attention, we have to hide the messages in the music? Why can't we learn to be disciplined to hear?
Because
denying who we are.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that, Angie, you're right, AJ as well. I think the problem of the Black race is one of our problems is that the continental African, who is the majority of all Black people on this globe, we were not educated correctly about our history and who we are. And so we have lost some identity and our power in a way. We have been indoctrinated by Eurocentric values. And so when it comes to standing up and promoting the culture and identifying with the culture and reaching out to our brothers in the diaspora, it's become very difficult for us because we're not the African of our ancestors. We're not the Africans of the ones who built the pyramids, right? And so there's an issue there. We have to, that's why a lot of people now are trying to learn their roots. The average African or most African, whether on the continent or in the diaspora, has to make this the priority: education of yourself, education of your history, and knowing your true value. Because a lot of educated and smart Africans, even here, doctors, engineers, accountants, do not know who they truly are. A lot of Africans don't know past their village in Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. That village that you were born at or your grandfather is at is as far as you know your history. But our history goes further than that. And I'll take any African on this debate. And that is our problem. Slavery, of course, added to our woes and entrenched that which we did not have, which is education of ourselves. Because in the past, our ancestors passed on our history orally. And so when slavery came, the change is that it was the deepened the situation, hid everything, and give us the Bible, and of course hid a lot of things in the Bible and misinformed us. Our educational system is very Eurocentric. We've read more European books than African writers.
It's true.
Exactly.
Okay, so the continental African, the billions of Africans on the continent, our mind is Eurocentric. Part of our brain, probably 50% of it. So, but I think that we are very cultural. We have retained the culture and our identity because we live on the continent, and everything on the continent is cultural, it's natural, so it's automatic. So we can't lose that. So that is with us. But our way of thinking has been diluted, and as a result, we are not able to do some of the things that you just alluded to. ANGIE. So now the diaspora power comes in now. Continental Africans who have come here and have studied and are being educated about our own history, and Black Americans who contributed to building the greatest nation on earth. There is vast information, there's vast knowledge. How and to the points that you both made, how do we combine these two communities? Continental Africans who have a lot of culture, we're bringing it here, and we're exchanging that culture with you all, who have this high-tech developmental brain, which was demonstrated in
Wakanda.
That is what I'm saying.
The first one
and the second one. Okay, I mean it's evidence, right? Yeah. And so how do we blend this? And that is why we have to come. And so to the point that you made in reference to Louis Farrakhan, we have to find a way. Africans, our destiny, Black people, our destiny is in our own hands by re-educating ourselves, because it wasn't given to us. The real education, the number one education, the most important thing for every Black person is learning who you are, your roots, and where you come from. Because once you identify that power, the rest of the work is done. Now you can easily identify with your brother. You can easily identify with your sister. You can see the similarities, but still love and accept them in your heart and in your mind, right? Even though we speak different languages and act differently and eat differently, we can begin to appreciate each other as once we start understanding who we truly are.
But how can that happen?
This can happen by what you and I are doing, right? Now, Rome, our story, ANGIE, the reason why we got here did not take 10 years or 20 years, right? It's been centuries of damage. So ANGIE, we may not be able to see the change that we want, but our children will see it. If you and I continue in this trajectory, if you and I organize every year the conferences that we're talking about, right? The exchange ceremony, where our kings are coming from Africa, right? And we are meeting our brothers and sisters here in America. And we are celebrating our culture through dance and music, which is the point AJ made. Because at the core of the Black man is our dance, right? Our music, our rhythm.
I asked how rhetorically. Yeah. I asked how it's rhetorically.
Yeah. Okay.
I know how.
Yeah.
We just need help with the how.
So that's again, we need help, but our kings from Africa need to be part of this conversation.
Yes, King Toby did a magnificent job.
And we have to, and this is the first time that has ever happened, and we have to continue with that, right? That's why I said this journey is going to take a long time, and we may not see the results that we're looking for, but the children we are giving birth to now, and those that are yet unborn, will come and witness a better African diaspora, because you and I decided to sacrifice to do the hard work. Nobody's going to organize us. Nobody's going to teach us if we don't do it, because we know better. To whom much is given, much is required. And so now that we've understood and found out some truths, we have to sacrifice, we have to be disciplined, and we have to do this global African gathering, right? So that's why we've started in Chicago with the exchange. Every year, we're going to bring global Africans, and we're going to celebrate us, not only celebrating us through dance and culture, but we're also going to do the educational piece. We're going to teach. Our kings are going to tell the story. And then we're going to have African-American experts who are psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health folks. We're going to blend it so that we're having the teaching part of who we are. And then we're going to celebrate us. And we're going to have the business component. We need to do these every year. And many of these, not just us, but everybody in the diaspora needs to be organizing. And that is what the African American did. Reason why they were able to break free, reason why they've been able to succeed despite everything they've been through. They kept organizing and organizing and organizing in spite of the brutalities, the killings. They kept organizing. And one thing, if every African that's listening right now and may listen after this show, one thing that we cannot stop doing is to keep organizing. And I don't think that as Africans we organize enough. We have not been organizing enough. Let's stop stomach politics. Let's not follow people. Let's not be tribal sentiments. But we have to understand that the global African, our history, our future is at stake. The future of our children is at stake. And so we have to be selfless enough to start organizing for the future. Organizing is the key word, because if we don't do it, nobody is going to put us together. I just wanted to end on that note. AJ, I know you. Angie, before you go ahead, we've had so many comments. Can you give me a few minutes to read through?
Yes, I apologize.
All right, so we have Karen says, okay, so Jacob Bidler community space. I don't maybe she was responding to something else, but let's go to this.
She's tagging the school.
Okay, great. Susie Lewis says we can do it by having conferences to educate people about the history of African people and start a website or social media newsletters. Bam.
Yes.
Talking about website, go to theexchangeceremony.com. Go there right now. Theexchangeceremony.com. See what is there and try to be part of the movement. This is what Progressive Minds has been about for the past 6 years. And with the help of you and everybody, we can make this bigger. And again, you don't have to be part of this. Anywhere you are on this planet, you can start organizing the few Black people around you. And the key word again, let's remember, organize, organize. And so thank you so much, Susie, for bringing in your comment. Hey, John, if you are ready, let me know. I can send you the link so you can join us. John wanted to join us, but due to work schedule, he couldn't. So John, if you want to join, let me know. I'll send you the link. All of us require healing. As long as we are well as we cannot unite. Sochi has a very great point. And so, Sochi, to answer your question directly, the exchange ceremony is targeting that, the healing. Okay, it's all about the healing, because the education and the history and all of that we're doing is to heal us and give us a space to interact and enjoy each other, right? Each other's unique cultures. So healing is very, very important, very true. Black people are hurt across the globe because of what happened to us. And so I completely agree with you. Let me see here. I think we have another comment. Great point, Alinko. Thank you so much, Priscilla. The journey does not have to take a long time, not with the technology we have today. Bam. Okay. So Angie, it doesn't have to be your children. You can experience that that diaspora or that African community you're looking for.
Like AJ, we will make it. I'm telling you.
Okay, we will see it, right? Okay, we're enjoying it in our children too. Okay, so that's a great point. Thank you so much, Nathan. It happens over time, developing strategies and vision of where we are going. Those without vision and any roads would do. I apologize if I'm reading too fast because I want to be able to go through a lot of the comments. This the best book to read to start your journey of discovery is The Miseducation of the Negro and The Education of the Negro by Carter J. Goodson. Thank you so much, Nathan. Nathan should be on the show next time, bro. You have a lot of
yes.
Okay, so Sochi again says, "Are you expecting an instant solution when it has taken hundreds of years to disrupt our connection?" Prisla says, "Great conversation. The centric education." This one is from Onesma Mumba.
Yes, that's the one I wanted. Yes.
Okay, you do not control your educational system and basic content. That's true.
Yes.
We don't. And so, how do we change that narrative? I think at this point, solution, right? We're looking for a lot of solution because we have identified the problems, and Black people, let's start coming with solutions. And the more we do so, the more we can find a common ground to bring the solutions to life. And this is what this platform is for. The Progressive Mind is about these conversations that would help us build the community that we're looking for. Thank you so much once again. Sochi says, Angie, you are correct. Education is required, and deprogram the miseducation. So ton of comments, and let me see. We must feed the mind with our cultural facts. All right. So thank you so much for all the comment that has come through. We'd like to take a short break. I don't know if Angie or AJ wanted to make a comment before we take this short break.
I think that you're right. We just have to be more solutions oriented. I don't want to just talk about it. You have a large platform and you've done great work. But what's wrong with us having our own schools like the Minister Louis Farrakhan? What's wrong with us having our own society?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you brought up that point from the man, did you say once moose? What is it? Mr. Mumba, you do not control your educational system and basic content. Why can we not have our own content? Why can't we have our own curriculum? Why can't we have our own schools? That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. When we come back, we'll try and find answers to those questions. Stay tuned. This is the Progressive Mind Show. Here is where we build our community through these dialogues. We shall be right back after the short break. Welcome back to the show. This is Alinko with the number one community building show in the world, The Progressive Minds. We are excited that you have joined us for the second part of the show. This show would be ending in the next 20 to 30 minutes. Please feel free to keep bringing your comments in. But one thing you can do to also help us is to share the feed, because if we're going to be building our communities, we will need your participation in terms of sharing the feed. The Progressive Minds also is a 501c, and we're encouraging our listeners and folks who are following now to go on our website, The Progressive Minds Show, and make a donation to us, because this is how we are able to keep production going. We need your support, okay? And also, your donations are tax deductible. So please go ahead to our website now, theprogressivemindshow.com. Look at the events that we've done. Look at the conversations that we're having, and check out the website thoroughly. And then you will know that there is a need for you to support what we're doing. So we encourage you to do so now. Theprogressivemindshow.com. Hopefully next week we shall get the phone line working again, and this is all due to financial issues. Okay, the software we use, the internet, the of course the light bills, the studio equipment, these are all costly, and so we need your help. And one thing that I think Black people we struggle with is to support some of these community projects. Is in as much as we talk and want to get things done, more often than not, we struggle in putting our money into these things. And so we want to encourage everyone that has not contributed to do so. The commercial you saw is about websites building, graphic work. If you are in need of graphic work, websites, any artwork at all, apps, business cards, brochures, contact us at info.progressiveminds@gmail.com, info.progressiveminds@gmail.com. We will give you websites, international standard of websites at a very, very low cost that will be to your imagination. And so please support what we're doing here so we can keep bringing you these shows. We'll go back to the conversation. The topic is Wakanda Black Panther Part 2. And we are looking at it from the perspective of the diaspora. John, you might tilting your phone to the side, sideways. There you go. Whilst we try to get John in the feed, I would like to take a few more comments, and then let's see if we can get this comment. There are Afrocentric educational solutions out there, and educators such as Dr. M. Asante. All right, we'll have to look at Dr. Asante's work. Arrange a conference for the African textbook for each grade level. This is to define civics and history. Onesmo Mumba, thank you so much for your comment. Please share this opportunity far and wide with those that service the non-citizen population. Okay, so we will share the link. Thank you so much, Reddit Rock, if I read the name correctly. Thank you so much for bringing that in. Susie says fellowship with churches and host classes or workshops to educate people. Hallelujah. That's actually the strategy. So next year exchange, we're partnering with some churches to get this done, because this is a very big big concern for us. Our people are located in the churches, in the mosque, in these religious bodies, because Black people, the number one thing you can't take from a Black man is his spirituality, is his connection to his maker. We will worship anywhere, so that is a very great point. Thank you for sharing. John, I think we still have you looking awkward. So, I mean, in terms of your camera, so you might want to adjust it for us, so we can bring you into the conversation. Let's look at, in a few minutes, we're going to wrap up. And just text me in the private chat, my guest, if any of you have to step out earlier. No, we can arrange that. Let's look at, do you think that this Wakanda Part 2, and that's the conversation, it's 7:23 p.m. Central Time. Do you think that this Part 2 depicted the richness of the African continent when it comes to natural resources? Quickly, AJ, and then Angie, you can respond to that.
Well, I think that the technology part of it, of the whole process, was very impressive. Mm-hmm. I think they did, like dive into a lot of different nuances when it comes to in the beginning. I think it was, they had a South African scene funeral. I mean, I think they were very multifaceted, and they touched on a lot of different cultures, even within Africa itself. So I would like to consider it like very, very rich in that sense that they did the best that they can to they could to kind of show Africa in a great light with science, math, science, technology, and it was all being ran and made functional by Africans, So I really kind of appreciated that part, because for the longest time it was harder for us to find representation like that on TV. So that kind of representation I really appreciate.
I think so too. Angie, culture and technology piece of this movie, what do you make of it?
The beauty, your question previously was, did it encapsulate the beauty and the richness of
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Part 2 more so seemed to me concentrated on, for the lack of a better word, STEM, science and technology, mathematics and things like that. Of course, they were all dressed gorgeous. Okay, I can't wait to steal something, so I can try to mimic the look. But in regards to resources and the beauty of the land and things like that, I didn't see much of that.
Beauty of the land and the resources, you didn't see much of that. Okay, so here's my take. I think that, so of course there's a 2 hour and 2.5 hour movie, and there's a lot of things a lot of stories they want to tell in that short span of time. But what I feel they captured is, in addition to what you're saying, which I agree with two of you, but I just want to add a little bit to it. I think they showed a lot of the richness. They showed that Africa is truly the richest continent on earth, because from time immemorial, we know that gold, diamond, all the natural resources have been gotten from Africa, and they're still getting it from Africa, and it has not been depleted. Now, in this movie, they also, for the first and the second one, they're talking about the vibranium. This movie also spoke about the vibranium and how everybody's looking for that vibranium, which is located in Africa. So it tells you that any type of mineral, and in this movie is depicting the vibranium as the most powerful mineral, as the number one thing that can change this world, that if anybody gets their hand on it, and it's resting in Africa in abundance.
It's true.
And so this is the power that this movie is telling you about what Africa is. And that's why you remember when I was talking to you, Angie, earlier, that when I was watching the movie, the only thing that kept coming to my brain is powerful. That's all the movie was speaking to me, because it spoke to the power of Black people. And when you spoke and when you touched on technology, yes, see, these are Black people being depicted as geniuses in science, in technology. It goes to tell you that once upon a time, we were the people, again, that introduced science and physics. If we build the pyramids, it's telling you what we used to be, or what we had, the originality of the African. That in spite of what you see of the Black man now, poverty on the continent, struggling here and there, in us is the ability to create what's the name of the young lady again?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry, I've forgotten her name. But inability is us to create the images, the technologies that you saw in the movie. And the Black lady, the young Black lady that made manufactured that, invented that thing, the robot thing that fought in the movie. It's just telling you that the Black man is not relegated to sports, music, maybe some other social talents, but we, in us, is STEM, like you said. In us is STEM. And And we don't have to do anything hard. We don't have to necessarily push our kids to go to STEM classes. We are not lacking it. It's in us. Science and technology is in us.
I can tell you what's deeper than the movie though. There was something that was kind of deep about the movie though.
Go ahead.
The part of uranium, right? Let's talk about. They're talking about in the movie
Mm-hmm.
But we know the resources, uranium that's used for nuclear weapons and everything is in Africa.
That's what I'm saying.
So what the movie kind of does say that it's far-fetched because and that's where I want us to start thinking about is they came for those resources. In this day and age, when they come for the resources, if you don't give it to them, they're taking it regardless, right?
Yeah.
So, and that they have the nuclear weapons. And Africa that produces the natural resources, we don't even have access to that, right? The uranium. So we don't have no nuclear weapons or anything. So in the movie, they wanted to come and get the vibranium to make some nuclear weapons. And we actually didn't allow it to happen. In the real world, it's the opposite of that. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's a deeper conversation.
It is. But I think that and great point. And I completely agree. But I think the point that I'm sure you know what the point I was trying to make is what they were trying to show. What I captured that they were trying to show, and which is very clear, and which is what I would like every Black person, every Black child that may be listening, or Black young men that be listening to this show later, that here on the continent of Africa and here in America, that in you is not only the ability to play sports or do some social programs or maybe just be an accountant, but embedded in you is STEM itself. And you can become it. It's not science and technology. It's not for just a particular group of people. If anything, Black Panther 2 is telling you that. And that is what the original Black man is. John, I know you just joined us. So your take on this real quick as we try to wrap up. Angie, please give me the signal, okay? I know you've been here for some time. Give me the signal, and then we can excuse you. But John just joined us, and I wouldn't ask you a question. I know you've been listening in the back end. Capture everything you've heard so far and add your inputs in the next 30 seconds. I know it's a very short time, but I did it on purpose.
Well, thank you all so much. It's very great conversation. I couldn't help but find moments to join. I'm still in the office. But real quick, this whole Black Panther movie is just an expression of the struggle that the Black people are going through, whether it is the scramble for the materials, raw materials, all kinds of things from Africa, or holding people back, or the limitations that are consciously being caused that keep people behind. But all of this is just what this movie is about. But there's one thing that I'd like to say from the very beginning. They talked about how can Black people come together, how can they work together, how can they portray the culture, how can we emerge so that we start sending a message out there that now we are conscious, now we are educated, now we have the skills, both in technology, in politics, and otherwise. Gone are those days where we just sat and everything is taken away from us. I think now we have a voice. It's just a function of articulating our voice, coming together and making it sound louder than anyone else think. Technology has facilitated this. Now the stereotype of Africa being one bush place where it's full of lions and people sleeping in trees and under the water and all of those things. Now people are traveling to Africa, and even the Black brothers and sisters here in the US, now they go to Africa, they watch movies about Africa, and their thoughts are changing gradually. Now we work together, we're at workplace, we work with other African Americans and other Blacks across the world. The mentality is changing. The change didn't come so quick. It's very slow. It is, but technology is facilitating it. Is making it. It's a little bit more aggressive, and we cannot stop on that change. Whether it is music that we do, let us put this message in that hey, that time is past. This is a new era. Whether it is talk shows like this one, we have to start speaking this thing. We have to start speaking aspiration, our dreams, and what we think of Africa, what we think of a black man. This is how we bring this.
Before you continue, AJ has to leave. AJ, your last comments, and then you can take leave of us.
Last comment. Okay, so let's do this once a year, right? Because we were talking about bridging the gap and what can we do. If we can kind of figure out as time goes on, if we do a trip, all of us, we take a few, those of us that are Africans, we take a few Black Americans and we bring them home and we just let them see and experience what it means to be African and where their roots are and all those kind, what their roots, where they're from and everything like that. So I think that might be something that we can kind of do and plan towards maybe a year or two from now, where we start like an exodus back home, just to, with a lot of our good friends, and then we go together and we just experience Africa together and come back. I think that's a good way for us to
and go through a cultural reformation.
Yes,
give them African names, all of that,
the whole ritual.
Great point. Yes. So and in addition to that, they're also going to see. African Americans are also going to see that the hat you're wearing is not something peculiar to African Americans. It's also what we wear naturally back in Africa.
It's true,
right? There's a reason why I had you keep the hat on, because it portrays both the African and the African American in you. Mm-hmm. Our fathers back home, we wear the same thing, and again, it's not a borrowed cultural thing from the West. Mm-hmm. Our forefathers and the grandfathers wear these hats, and this is just natural. And so I just wanted to. There's a reason why I had you keep it on. So thank you so much for bringing that. And once we start doing these trips, people are going to see. People are going to see, and the spirituality you spoke about when you touch your foot on the African soil, it is a different feeling you'll not get anywhere on this planet.
Anywhere else.
Believe us, because we are from there. We've come here. And we've lived both worlds, and we understand that. So AJ, thank you for sharing. Look forward to engaging you again on the show. Have a wonderful evening, bro.
You guys have a blessed day, okay? Peace to everybody. Peace.
Absolutely. So AJ is taking leave of us. I think we want to wrap up in a little bit. But here is my other take on the movie, on the Black Panther 2, the Wakanda movie. I feel like they set us up for a 3. Do you all believe that there's a 3 coming? And the reason why I picked this is because, like you said, the young lady, the Black Panther lady, okay, she at the end of the movie did not kill this guy. Angie, you would have to help me with the names. What's his name? Is it Carla Hook?
The Hispanic guy was Namo.
He had this name that I'm trying to remember. But anyway, the two of them came together, even though they went to war. It tells you, it's talking to the internal war or internal struggle that Black people have had, right? Or black and brown people, that we have fought against each other. But now it's time for us to come together. So in that movie, they had a terrible fight. Remember, they also said that their kingdoms were the most powerful in the universe. And the Wakanda was the most powerful, and this underwater world, who were the brown people, part of the diaspora. So these two most powerful people had to fight. They had misunderstanding. They had to fight among themselves, destroy their properties. But they remembered not to kill their leaders. They remembered not to kill each other, but to stick and forge ahead. So guess what is going to happen in the third one? I'm thinking that's exactly what's going to play out. The two of them coming together now are going to forge forward to contend with the powers that are trying to oppress them. At least just seek the freedom of their people. And I think that's what I'm catching from that. But we want to wrap up. So John, Angie, you got to go. So give us your take on or your last words, and we can sign up.
Well, I want to give a shout out really quickly to those who have taken the time to tune in. My family, Nathan, Karen, as well as Janice. She was watching. I want to say hi to my niece in Springfield, Sydney, and her mom, Nisi. But closing remarks would be perhaps the fact that if we look at it from a layered point of view, there are so many things that we could learn from an objective point of view when looking at Black Panther 2. One of the things is, are we able, as IG pointed out, to take care of ourselves, focus on ourselves without being so easily influenced by other things and other cultures other than the Black race? One of the things that I've noticed in closing is that when Black people show their Blackness, whether it's braids, whether it's African attire, I've known people who have made fun, Black Americans have made fun of those who wear and represent the culture of Africa. We must stop this. This is a Black American problem. We must stop this. And so I also feel like with Africans, we must not look down on others because of colonization, if you will. They call them in the movie Wakanda colonizers. Sometimes we've been colonized and judge each other, and the plan and the agenda has been effective to actually hate one another. They do it in Africa and they do it here. And so when we finally get together, we are not admiring each other, but rather looking at each other as though you are out of the norm, you're out of the uniform. So I would rather encourage us and look at the glass half full as us sitting on the brink of true change. We have to welcome the education and secure people who are willing to educate us so that we can have unity and so that we can have uniformity and celebrate one another. But it cannot happen until we are willing to learn about who we are as a people.
Thank you so much, Angie, for your beautiful closing remarks. And I think we have a few minutes. John, please go ahead.
I think the fighting is just a spirit of divide and rule that was brought upon us. If you have read the book titled The Black Boy by Richard Wright, you'll see that the whole theme of fighting kind of was very overwhelming in that whole book, where the two Black guys were made to fight to entertain those whom we call the colonizers. So, but again, that will fight, even in that story, that they fought, but they did not want to hurt each other. It is just something that carries on to what Senna said or Linka said, that the part 3 of the Panther is coming up. What is next? Like he is suspecting is going to be something that says, okay, despite all of this, this is what we are looking at, coming together as a united front, fighting for what we want for ourselves, developing ourselves, and taking the lead ourselves in everything that we do. So in all, and as Angie also said, the rift between the Africans and the African Americans is based also on educatedness of not only the African Americans but also of the Africans. When we come here, there is a certain stereotype that we have about the African Americans here, but until you interact with them and until you understand the history, you would really not find a lot of meaning in this. as well as the African Americans look at us like, okay, you come here educated, you're looking down on us and all of those things. But when they get closer, they begin to see that we are just one people and we should be helping each other. We should have a common purpose, a common focus, and we can only succeed when we hold our hands together. But I think that it is getting there. It used to be worse than it is now.
Yeah.
It is getting better, and programs like this, shows like this, the program that we had that the Kings came here, we saw Reverend Jesse Jackson, we saw our father Jesse White, Dorothy Brown, the Kwame Raoults, who have been like so many. Now it's cutting across politics, it's cutting across all walks of life, whether you're in the healthcare, wherever, in social media. There is those steps, reasonable ones, that are being taken. Those who listen to us, whether they listen today or 10 years later or 3 years later or 2 days later, they will pick up some of these things. But hey, the change is here. We have to remain consistent and we have to remain hopeful.
Powerful point, my brother. Thank you so much. We have to remain consistent and we have to remain hopeful. Well, that would be the last words from our brother John on tonight's episode. This one just came in from Joshua West. Great job, everyone. Brother Joshua, thank you so much for your contribution. Facts from ANGIE. And graphene. So graphene was discovered about 14 years ago, and it has been tagged the world's strongest material, as it is over 200 times stronger than steel. Thank you so much, Nathan. Africa has so many resources that the world has not yet seen, unheard of yet. And so it's just, thank you so much for your education on this one too. There are others. Maybe on another show, we will come and just delve into what has been discovered on the continent in terms of natural resources and what is potentially there. We will look at that on a different platform. Thank you all very much. This was beautifully powerful. Thank you, Karen, for being a beautifully powerful queen on the show with your contributions and your presence. Angie, our next new co-host of the show. Great feature today, Angie Mims. We're looking forward to co-hosting this show with you, bringing more powerful conversations to everyone that joined us. Thank you. God bless you for your hearts. Please remember to go on our website and donate so that we can keep these conversations going. Also, remember that if you want to build your websites, build our graphic designs, come to us, info.progressiveminds@gmail.com, info.progressiveminds@gmail.com, or you can ring 815-409-9123. We'll give you internationally designed graphic websites. We'll give websites that are at international standards, but at a very, very good and affordable price. Also, graphic works, logo, and brochures. Any artwork, contact info.progressiveminds@gmail.com. Again, the number is 815-409-9123. Also, apps. We build apps. Okay, so here we don't only do the show. This is a multi-talented platform. It's a media company. And watch out for all these things that we are coming up with. Next year, exchange ceremony is going to be exciting. So mark your calendars. June next year, we'll be giving you the exact dates. June next year is the next exchange ceremony. We have about 10 kings from Ghana that are coming to restore the royalty to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. It's like something you've never seen. And it's not just because you haven't seen it. It's the impact, the culture, the spiritual disconnect that we want to bridge is why we're doing this. It's necessary. It's good for our soul. It's good for our future. Thank you once again for being on the show, Angie, John, AJ, you all for helping to co-host this evening's episode. Thank you all very much. This was powerfully. Oh, I think we already read this one. All right, John. Thank you for coming in last minute. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Say hi to the family. And to all our audience, we say keep sharing this feed so that your friends and our friends can be part of the community building agenda. Remember, to whom much is given, much is required. I am your host, Alinko. We will see you next week, Wednesday. God bless. Bye-bye.